things start to surface.
Of course you're right about not interfering with other people's children. It was like I watched myself get up and go and sit with Zoe after you'd smacked her and sent her to her room. In retrospect, perhaps supporting you and where it's tough for you as a mother would help Zoe more in the long run. I do what I believe in, and that means I make lots of mistakes. Like I said, I was scared. It was really hard for me to hear the stuff you were saying about me not being normal. It's the thing that society's terrified me with all my life. Whether you think it's had any effect on you or not, you grew up in a family with a member who was, for some of that time, considered strange. No wonder what's normal behaviour and what isn't is important to you. I used to shake. That's all that happened. I've since figured out that I was frightened by lots of different things. The horrible things I saw on the news, for instance. Of course it's not just about being hit by your parents. There's lots of real scary things happening out there. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shut down to it and pretend it wasn't going on, like lots of people somehow manage to do. And just like sad things make me cry, or funny things make me laugh, all the scary stuff made me shake. But I didn't know all that at the time. I got the message that it wasn't a natural reaction, and it seems that that's what everyone else thought around me too. First they came up with epilepsy, and so I ended up on drugs for 3 years that had a terrible effect on my body. For 3 years I put those really strong chemicals inside me every day because someone in a white coat said I had a short circuit in my brain, even though all those tests never showed one. After a while, understandably, the Nardil, the Ospalot, the Dilantin, all those chemicals took their toll. I remember screaming and screaming with Dad holding me one time. I just had so much frustration and all these feelings and they had to come out. I was 19, so you were about 13. And I remember you running, crying up the other end of the house on Trail Road because it upset you so much and you couldn't understand what was going on. You must have got some message, though, that your older sister wasn't normal and that it was a really frightening thing. Anyway, when they decided it wasn't epilepsy after all, it was declared that I had severe physical depression, which meant another drug for a year. But the funny thing was, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't stop shaking. I was told I had agoraphobia, fear of people and places, and panic attacks, even though at the same time all this was happening and I felt so ill and exhausted from it all. I was being flown around the country giving speeches and running workshops on youth affairs. So I dropped everything and went into the psych ward at Flinders Hospital for a month. The loony bin, in other words. That was terrifying. Looking back, I think I went along with it all so easily because, having lost my sense of self somewhere in school, here was special attention, that voice of authority I was so hopeful to please, singling me out and redefining me. I was told I had a disintegrated personality, but hey, at least that told me I was being thought about. When you're locked away and not thought of as completely human, which is what being in a mental ward says, you get this opportunity to look in at the world from the outside, and it looks really strange. It's hard to get a picture of it when you're in the middle of it all, but I've had a chance to step outside it, and I don't like what I saw, and I can see that things can actually be very different. What you said yesterday about things never changing and that's just the way the world is understandable, but how can you expect your children to have hope for the future and for a better world if they can see that you don't? See, no matter how hard everyone tried to make me be like everyone else, to stop shaking and not stand out in any way, I've managed to hang in there. It just means that I risk not being thought of as normal. And if I keep shaking long enough, maybe that won't even bother me anymore. There's more to that story, more strong chemicals, etc., but that's enough. Maybe you'll get to see all the effort I've been going to make my relationships better with Mum and Dad and Kerry and Daryl, and that those relationships are now excellent, much better than they've ever been, but it's involved people having feelings every time, something that, at the far end of the scale, gets you labelled mentally ill. Writing this to you makes my hands sweat and the adrenaline's really squirting around. But every time I use what appears to be my body's natural healing process, a fog seems to lift and my thinking clears. That's all I'm going to say. I just wanted you to have some idea where I'm coming from and for you to know that I love you. It's painful that you banned me from seeing you or your family, but I won't contact you in any way again. Thank you for being honest with me yesterday. It means a lot to me and I do listen. Love, Wendy.
Family tradition. Have nowhere to stand. The rights of children have nowhere to stand.
Rodney James round out 9 and 10. 11 and 12, Ken James and Ian Thomas.